LoveLore Library. Chapter 205. Back then, he had done those things for a reason. One reason was because he saw Tanghua's boundless future. On the other hand, he was disgusted by Tang Haohui's actions and pitied Tanghua. He didn't expect the little girl who had just shown her talent to have grown to such an extent. It really made him sigh with emotion. The more outstanding Tanghua was, the more he looked down on Tang Haohui. There's one thing I still have to explain to Elder Tang. After discussion among the elders, Tang Haohui's position as the patriarch has been removed. Tanghua smiled. Patriarch, please do as you wish. I don't care about these things. The patriarch also knew that Tanghua didn't have a good impression of Tang Haohui. She might be happy with this decision. I came back this time mainly to see the patriarch and the elders of the clan. Thank you for your care in the past. She had always repaid kindness with kindness. She took out a storage ring and handed it to the patriarch. Inside are the items I left for the Tang clan. Patriarch, you are a fair person. You should know who to distribute them to. They will be kept by you. There's also a copy of my experience in medicine refinement. Patriarch, please choose a talented seedling to teach. That's right. I only have one request. These items cannot fall into the hands of Tang Haohui's bloodline. No one can have them, including Bao Yunzi. The patriarch's spirits rose. Tang Haohui's family had really hurt Elder Tang's heart. Thank you, Elder Tang. At first, the patriarch thought that it was just some miraculous elixirs and Tanghua's experience in medicine refinement. He attached some importance to it, but also didn't attach much importance to it. After all, Tanghua had only left for 10 years. After Tanghua bid farewell, she said that she would leave Ping City soon and might not return. He opened it to take a look, and what he saw left him dumbfounded. The patriarch hurriedly put away the storage ring carefully. His eyes were filled with tears. The name Tanghua should be recorded in the Tang clan's merit list. Just this one item was enough for the Tang clan to develop for hundreds of years. Later, Tanghua sat in a tea house and heard the people of Ping City discussing Tanghuan. She had not paid attention to this matter for a long time. From the mouths of these people, she found out that ever since they separated, Tanghuan's cultivation speed had become slower and slower. Tang Haohui thought that she had only reached a bottleneck, but he didn't expect that after a few years, Tanghuan's realm still hadn't loosened. Not only that, if his cultivation did not improve, Tanghuan's temper would become more and more irritable as he aged, and he would not be able to calm down when refining medicine. Even with the help of the medicine refining space, it would still explode out of 10 times. Over time, everyone stopped talking about Tanghuan's talent, and started to talk about the fall of the geniuses of the past. Coincidentally, just a few days ago, Tanghuan was at his own shop. Yes, the pill shop. She claimed that she had a master behind her who could provide her with all kinds of high-grade pills, but in fact, they were all refined by the alchemy space. Right, she was still the 7th prince's wife. On one hand, Yi Yan liked her. On the other hand, he couldn't do without her spirit pill cultivation. They got married 10 years ago. Speaking of which, a few days ago, a mysterious woman barged into the pill shop and attacked Tanghuan without any explanation. The newcomer was very fierce. Compared to Tanghuan, who had not improved much in the past few years, the other party was a little stronger. Tanghuan did not expect that someone would harm her. In a moment of carelessness, the other party broke the tendons in her hands and feet. In the end, Tanghuan was stripped naked and thrown onto the street. Not a single piece of clothing was left. Her naked body was thrown onto the street just like that, and the onlookers were addicted to watching. Peak. The host was becoming more and more arrogant, more and more crooked, and more and more. Anyway, it didn't want to describe it. With the host's existence, the male and female leads could only take a detour. Tangua threw down the money for the tea and walked towards the palace. It was time to visit her cousin. After she left, an average-looking woman appeared. She stared in the direction that Tang Guo left and remembered the happy expression on her face when she heard about Tang Huan. The woman couldn't help but laugh. Tang Guo was still Tang Guo. She still showed everything on her face. The arrogance and despotism of the young miss of an aristocratic family was vividly displayed by her. She didn't give the other party any face at all. No wonder she always wanted to target her in the past. Recalling the past, she sighed slightly and turned to leave. She didn't have the face to see her old friend. Peek. Chapter 207. Time passed quickly. Yi Zhou accompanied Tang Guo to travel all over the continent. The two of them even went to all kinds of dangerous mystic realms together. No matter what danger they encountered, the two of them were always able to turn the danger into safety after joining forces. Cousin, it's been 500 years. Tang Guo's appearance was still the same as before. She was already at the peak stage of the Emperor Yuan realm and was just one step away from breaking through the void. She looked at the man in front of her. He was still wearing a red robe, and his appearance was still so handsome. She would never get tired of looking at him. The smile on his face could always cross her heart, add some warmth to her, and heal the traces left behind by the countless worlds she had passed through. He said that he would accompany her, and he really accompanied her. She couldn't help but be moved. In the past 500 years, she had also given her heart to him. He should have felt it, right? The original lifespan was 550 years. She was already more than 530 years old, and she would leave this world in more than 10 years. This was the rule of her shuttling between worlds. She could leave in advance, and she could only delay it by 10 years at most. Cousin, can you tell me why your realm hasn't increased in hundreds of years? Tang Guo looked at Yi Zhou. With Yi Zhou's talent, he should have cultivated to the peak stage of the Emperor Yuan realm long ago. However, he was only at the late stage of the Emperor Yuan realm 500 years ago. He hadn't increased in the past 500 years. Yi Zhou smiled bitterly. I have an obsession in my heart, and my cultivation has stagnated. But I don't care about this anymore. I am content to be able to stay by your side. This was the first time Tang Guo heard Yi Zhou say that he had an obsession. She was puzzled. What obsession? I always feel sorry for you and always want to accompany you. I am afraid that if I cultivate too fast, I will break through the void and leave. In the end. Yi Zhou spread his hands. In the end, my cultivation actually stopped increasing. He was also very helpless, but his expression didn't seem to care at all. You didn't think of a way. Cousin, I guess I won't be able to break through the void in many years. A late-stage Yuan the Arch could live for 1,000 years. If Yi Zhou didn't break through, he would only have less than 500 years to live. Although she held grudges, she didn't want Yi Zhou to stagnate. Cousin, I won't force you. As long as she was well, he would be well. He didn't know when, but all his original intentions had changed. He only wanted to protect her wholeheartedly. Cousin is willing to let me go. I've thought about it, Yi Zhou said helplessly. But my cultivation still hasn't improved. He had thought about what would happen if his cousin broke through the void and left, leaving him alone. However, his cultivation did not increase. Tang Guo frowned. This was not what she wanted. Yi Zhou should have broken through the void, and she did not want to change this outcome. Moreover, this person was Yi Zhou, and she would not be able to stay here for long. Suddenly, her eyes lit up. Cousin, come here. I have a decision to make. What decision? As long as you break through the void with me and we reach a new world together, I will marry you. What do you think? If Yi Shou still couldn't improve his cultivation, she could only think of other ways. Just as she thought of this, she felt that Yi Shou was moving. Then, she found that the surrounding vitality was crazily pouring into Yi Shou's body. Yi Shou looked at her with a bright smile. Tang Guo felt that she had been fooled. Cousin, don't go. Yi Shou had a pleading look on his face. I never thought you would make such a decision. I just swore to the heavens that if my cousin didn't agree to marry me, I would never be able to break through the void. That was a long time ago. Chapter 208. This oath was made before I decided not to force you. I really didn't lie to you on purpose. If I really did lie to you, I would have told you the truth long ago. Tang Guo believed that Yi Shou would not lie to her. And from the beginning to the end, she had been willing to say these words. In fact, these words could not be realized at all. The day she broke through the void was the day she would leave this place. Thinking of this, she was no longer angry. Her words still had some skill. They broke through the void together and arrived in a new world together. Only then would they get married. And she would never be able to arrive in a new world with him. It was not considered lying to him, right? Tang Guo thought uneasily. Cousin, you won't regret it, right? Yi Shou looked at Tang Guo anxiously. His pitiful expression amused Tang Guo. She shook her head. I naturally won't go back on my words. Yi Shou was naturally so happy that he was about to cry. Fortunately, Tang Guo glared at him. Only then did he laugh out loud. Since that day, Yi Shou cultivated harder and harder every day. Finally, he caught up to Tang Guo's cultivation. He realized that after that day, his cousin treated him even better. She would even cook for him occasionally. He was even more certain that his cousin had sincerely agreed to his request. His 500 years of following her had not been in vain. In fact, his obsession was not as deep as before. In these 500 years, his cousin only had eyes for him. She could not tolerate anyone else. He was very satisfied. Just as his cousin said, he was not so greedy anymore. That time, his cousin's promise was really a pleasant surprise. Finally, it was time for them to break through the void together. The two of them looked at the weakest part of the sky and their expressions became slightly more serious. Tang Guo turned to look at Yi Shou beside her. The corners of her eyes curved. Cousin, thank you. Thank you for being so good. It was really healing. She felt that some of the flaws in her heart had been mended. No matter what happens, cousin, you must take good care of yourself. Don't worry, cousin, I'll hold your hand properly and won't let go. Even if we accidentally separate, I'll find you quickly. Tang Guo lowered her head and smiled. I'm destined to disappoint you. Host, do you feel a little melancholy? After all, your cousin is really good. Somewhat. She was too greedy for this kind of sincere affection. However, she could not go against the rules of time travel. She had tried to go against it, but she would always go directly to the next world. Even in the Xianxia world, she had already become an immortal. In the next second, she might appear in a street in the modern world and be beaten up. This was really a sad story. When the suction force from the other world came, their bodies involuntarily floated over. Chapter 209. Yi Shou didn't give up. He went to all kinds of dangerous mystic realms. He was like a person who never got tired. He kept searching and never stopped. As time passed, everyone in this world came to know of Yi Shou. This person wasn't greedy for power or cultivation. He cultivated to become strong just to find someone. According to him, the person he was looking for was his wife. They came here together, but he lost her. Those who saw this powerful man's eyes redden as he said that he lost his wife felt guilty. In fact, they guessed that his wife was in danger and had died long ago. But he never gave up. Later, someone told him that there was a mystic realm in this realm. There was a magical mirror in it. He had a chance to see what he wanted to see. But this mystic realm was very dangerous. If he wanted to enter and find the mirror, he needed to be strong enough. So they never saw the man who was frantically searching for his wife again. Some said that he gave up. Some said that he went into seclusion in despair. Another 1,000 years passed. When Yi Zhou appeared, everyone realized that they couldn't see through that man anymore. He only said one sentence to everyone. He was going to find the mirror. This time, he would definitely find his wife. Everyone said, "He's crazy. He's crazy." After entering the mystic realm, Yi Zhou finally found the legendary mirror after many hardships. He held the simple mirror with a pious expression. There was only anticipation in his eyes. Even though he was so powerful, his eyes were red as he stuttered, "I want to see my cousin. I want to see where she went after we parted. I want to know where she is now. I can't see where she is now. But I can see the last scene of her in this realm." Yi Zhou's heart sank. At the same time, he was happy. So his cousin was still alive. Okay. Then the scene in the mirror returned to when he and Tangua separated. The stunning woman was smiling. Her voice came from the mirror. "Cousin, I don't know if you can hear me or not. I might not appear in the same world as you. I'm a passerby in every world. I can never stay. My anger has subsided. Although I hold grudges, your 500 years of sincerity has moved me. Unfortunately, I can't stay for you. Take care." The image in the mirror fell into darkness and Tangua's figure could no longer be seen. Yi Zhou was bawling his eyes out. He held the mirror and shook it, wanting to see his cousin again. "Little liar, you are a little liar. Cousin, you little liar." In the end, Yi Zhou wiped his face dry and put the mirror back. He summoned the divine beast that he had contracted with that day. It was a phoenix. "Master." Phoenix felt that the contract had been broken by Yi Zhou. She was a little puzzled. In fact, ever since she followed Yi Zhou, she had never been wronged. Yi Zhou was too strong. He did not even need her help. She felt that she was just a phoenix waiting to die. "From now on, you can go on your own." Without waiting for Phoenix to say anything, he waved his hand and threw Phoenix out of the secret realm. "Little liar, no matter which world you go to, I will find you. You promised me that you will marry me." After saying that, Yi Zhou did not hesitate to return to nothingness. He stood on the spot with a smile and felt his strength gradually dissipating. At the last moment before his consciousness disappeared, his strong feelings actually faded. Following which, the pair of eyes that were filled with affection also faded. She lowered her eyes and touched her chest. "Is this the love you spoke of?" Chapter 210. Host, Yi Zhou was unable to find you, so his cultivation base has returned to nothingness. Tangua, who had just come out of the heavenly spring, heard the news. She was slightly startled, and the feelings that had almost been washed away by the heavenly spring suddenly surged up, but she quickly ignored them. The system knew how heartless the host was after coming out of the heavenly spring. No matter how deep the feelings were, as long as she lay down in the heavenly spring, they would dissipate in her heart after a few days. "Host, let me tell you a piece of good news. My abilities seem to have become much stronger." Tangua's interest was piqued. "What can you do now?" "For example, the Veterans Gift Pack or the System Store? Do you have it? System Host. No. The system replied sullenly. Next world. System Dog. Tang Guo was awakened by the pain. She opened her eyes and looked at her surroundings. She quickly understood that she had come to a modern world. Perhaps it was because she was a cultivator in the previous world, but she subconsciously felt the energy in the air. There's actually spiritual energy. Tang Guo couldn't help but laugh. Compared to a world with no spiritual energy, she preferred a world with this kind of special energy. Although it was a little dangerous, it was a good thing for her. When she laughed, she felt the pain on her right cheek. The pain was like being burned by something. It was so painful that she couldn't even open her eyes. At this time, she also realized that she was staying in a hospital. Almost instantly, she understood that something had happened to her face. She wasn't worried at all. If this world didn't have the magical spiritual energy, she might be a little distressed. If there was spiritual energy, even if her face was ruined, she had a way to repair it. Thus, she didn't care about her face for the time being. She closed her eyes and let the system send the drama to her. After watching the drama, she clicked her tongue, so this is an unexpected disaster. The system was also a little weak. And, if the host's body had any conflicts with the female lead, there was no conflict at all with the female lead. In the end, the host's face was ruined because of the female lead. It really was an unexpected disaster. The female lead of this world was called Ji Xiaoxi. She was a student of C City's first grade class 3. She was originally a fair, rich, and beautiful girl that everyone envied. Not only did she have good grades, a good family background, and good looks. She was recognized by the whole school as the school's belle. If she was the school belle, then the female lead, Ji Xiaoxi, would be a joke. Ji Xiaoxi was not tall, less than 1.6 meters, but her body was very round. Saying that she was round was a good way to put it. In fact, from afar, she looked like a ball. Not only that, but Ji Xiaoxi's facial features weren't good either. She had pimples on her face, and her grades were at the bottom of the class. In any case, Ji Xiaoxi didn't have a single shining point in her life. Moreover, she was very sensitive and had an inferiority complex. If someone touched her soft spot, she would have a conflict with them. If Ji Xiaoxi had anything to do with Ben Yuan, it would be that Ji Xiaoxi's secret crush on the school hunk, Fu Zhuoshu, had been exposed, and a few girls in school had bullied her in the restroom. Coincidentally, he saw Yukari going to the toilet, so he helped to rescue her. Originally, it was purely because he couldn't stand those people's actions and left after saving Ji Xiaoxi. However, in Ji Xiaoxi's eyes, she had originally looked down on her. Not only was she not grateful, but she even felt resentment in her heart. Ji Xiaoxi picked up her broken phone and went home sullenly. Then, she picked up a very new phone on the way. It was not a famous brand, but an inferior one. Ji Xiaoxi was still worried about how to explain it to her family. Chapter 211. After picking up the phone, Ji Xiaoxi couldn't help but take it home. When she logged into WeChat, she found that there was a strange group in her WeChat account, the Plain Communication Group. Ji Xiaoxi looked at her name card. She was called Ji Xiaoxi. The members of the group were not simple. Their names were very Chinibu to her. General Billy, Sage Siyun, Devil Sex Leader, Fairy Piao, Devil Sage Herald, Emmanuel, and so on. She thought that she was accidentally pulled in by a group of Chinibu. She was just about to leave when someone in the group sent a red packet. She subconsciously clicked on it. With that, she clicked on a new life. She looked at the thing that appeared in her hand. It was the plastic surgery instrument. Yes, this red packet was sent by Emmanuel. Ji Xiaoxi, who had snatched the plastic surgery instrument, secretly observed the group. She heard the plastic surgeon called Emmanuel say that this plastic surgery instrument was newly developed by him. It could slowly adjust one's appearance to one's desired appearance. Ji Xiaoxi still didn't believe it, but she felt that the plastic surgery instrument that suddenly appeared in her hand was very magical. She chose to be skeptical and didn't leave the group for the time being. Ji Xiaoxi's life was a cheat. With her hand speed, she snatched a lot of good things from various planes, slowly changing her life. The group members were also curious about Ji Xiaoxi, a newcomer who had suddenly appeared. They didn't say anything, but they were somewhat dissatisfied with this newcomer who only snatched red packets but didn't send them. Ji Xiaoxi seemed to have become much smarter after eating those elixirs. She felt that the group members were dissatisfied with her. She thought that no matter if she was a human or a ghost, she couldn't escape the word eat. She spent all the money she had recently earned and went to a restaurant to buy the most expensive dishes and wine and sent them out. Then, the group members seemed to be a group of people who had never eaten good food before. They all had a good impression of Ji Xiaoxi. Gradually, they got along better and better. They helped Ji Xiaoxi change her fate and even helped Ji Xiaoxi to cultivate. Now, Ji Xiaoxi had joined the Red Packet group for 2 months. She had slowly changed her appearance. This was what happened to the original body. Perhaps Ji Xiaoxi was subconsciously jealous of the original body. Her appearance after the transformation was actually 60% similar to the original body. Originally, Ji Xiaoxi could have changed her appearance when it was set, but in the end, she somehow managed to retain this appearance. Just like that, Ji Xiaoxi became the second Tanghua. Because she looked too much like Tanghua, it was impossible for her not to become famous. After the change, Ji Xiaoxi was approachable, unlike Tanghua, who was born in a superior family. Everyone naturally liked people like Ji Xiaoxi more, and they felt that the original body was more arrogant. Ever since Ji Xiaoxi had changed, she had attracted countless suitors. One of the craziest suitors was from the second high school. His name was Ma Mao, and he was a gangster. He was also a rich second-generation heir with a deep background. Ji Xiaoxi was unwilling to be with Ma Mao. Ma Mao was furious and planned to destroy Ji Xiaoxi. One day after school, Ma Mao carried the prepared sulfuric acid and walked towards Ji Xiaoxi. Ji Xiaoxi subconsciously felt that something was wrong and ran away. Ma Mao chased after her crazily. Ji Xiaoxi could not stop in time. Halfway through, she accidentally bumped into someone. Chapter 212. The original body felt something was wrong. When the other party splashed the acid, she blocked it with her school bag. However, some of the sulfuric acid still splashed on her right face and arm. Because of Ji Xiaoxi, the original body was disfigured. This happened a few days ago. Ji Xiaoxi didn't appear to apologize. Maybe she simply ignored the person she bumped into. The people in No. 1 middle school only knew that Campus Belle Tang had an accident and was hospitalized. The details were not clear. Others didn't know the follow-up, but Tang Guan knew after reading the follow-up. After the original body was disfigured, the family Tang asked the Ma family for an explanation. The Ma family had a deeper background than the family Tang. In order to redress their daughter's injustice, the family Tang couple was bankrupted by the Ma family. The disfigured original body became a joke in No. 1 middle school. Ma Mao also led the joke. Ma Mao regretted it after splashing the sulfuric acid. After all, he really liked Ji Xiaoxi. In the end, when he found out that the person who was splashed was not Ji Xiaoxi, but the original body, he felt a little lucky. The original owner of this body was a proud person. Although she was disfigured, despised, and mocked by others, her grades were much better than before. She used to be the third place in her grade. After her disfigurement, her ranking had always been the first place. For the family Tang couple who were in poor health, she worked hard and did better than others. However, the world always liked good-looking people more. The right side of her face was very ugly because of the sulfuric acid splashing. No matter what she did, it was difficult. Although she was very capable and talented, she was still rejected. When the family Tang couple was still alive, she still had the motivation to work. After the family Tang couple left, she fell into darkness and no longer worked hard. In the end, she suffered from depression and died when she was in her 50s. She didn't choose to commit suicide. Instead, she used her ability to help children who had the same experience as her. But she could help others, but she couldn't help herself. She could never get out of the shadow of the past. She couldn't understand why Ji Xiaoxi didn't remind her when she helped her. Ji Xiaoxi knew that there would be danger later. After the incident, Ji Xiaoxi also acted like she didn't know anything. No one knew that the original body was disfigured because Ji Xiaoxi knocked her down and Ji Xiaoxi looked similar to the original body. With Ji Xiaoxi's fortuitous encounter, she could help restore her original appearance. If Ji Xiaoxi had such magnanimity, with the original body's pride, even if she was unhappy, she would still forgive the other party. In the end, the other party chose not to know anything and allowed the original body to be ridiculed by the people in the school. It was as if the original body also wanted to experience the feeling of being ridiculed. In the end, Ji Xiaoxi managed to woo her idol, Fu Zhuoshu. After they got married, they were very happy. Ji Xiaoxi even brought Fu Zhuoshu into cultivation. As for what happened after that, there was no more plot. Mao Mao's life wasn't too bad either. He ended up in this world as an affectionate male supporting character. Other than Ji Xiaoxi, he had everything. The original body was an innocent passerby. She didn't do anything, but she had such an ending. It was really disappointing. I thought I was in the modern world. After being cured for so long, I would be able to live a peaceful life. When the system heard its host's words, it inexplicably trembled. The host was unhappy. It seems like other than my parents, no one in this world has ever let me down. Do you think I should join the news agency? The system was frightened. It couldn't be that they were going to perish together again and the world was going to collapse, right? Oh my God, host, don't be like this. This world is still very interesting. Vertex. Chapter 213. Host, think about whether the original owner of this body had any wishes. Why don't we help her fulfill her wishes? In any case, the host had long stopped doing that child matching mission. The male and female leads had no halo in front of the host. Tang Guo paused and carefully felt the original owner's thoughts. She pressed her forehead and sighed. Why is there such a person who doesn't want revenge after being hurt? She wants to repay society. Her wish is very simple. Protect the family Tang and live a happy life. She didn't mention Ma Mao, Ji Xiaoxi, and the others. Tang Guo couldn't understand such a saintly thought. Okay, I'll protect the family Tang and torture the scum. Anyway, with me around, I won't let Ma Mao and the others live a good life. The system trembled. Host, how do you want revenge? As long as the world isn't destroyed. Tang Guo smiled, which made her face, which was still wrapped in gauze, feel painful. Host, why don't you restore your appearance first? The system knew that its host didn't care about her appearance, but this was based on the fact that she could restore her appearance at any time. If the world was really ugly, the host would definitely do something like a newspaper. There's no hurry. I want to experience a different life. For example, I want to go back to school with an ugly face and see how those people react. Tangwa smiled. If I go back in one piece, how can those people sympathize with me? The system stuttered. Okay. As long as it's not a newspaper. Host, I have good news to tell you. I can invade this world's network. The system had just tried it. After discovering that it had this function, it was about to jump up. All this time, it had been looked down on by the host. She said that it didn't give out newbie gift packs, reward packs, or veteran gift packs. She even mocked him for invading the network herself. After the last world, it felt that its ability had improved. It had always been curious about what it could do. Now that it knew that it was still useful, how could it not be happy? Tangwa raised her eyes. Look at how happy you are. I thought you were going to implant a virus into the world's network. The system was broken. The host was still so evil. If that's the case, save all the surveillance footage of the street where the incident happened a few days ago. As long as there are surveillance cameras, start from the beginning. In the end, Tangwa smiled. The surveillance footage should have been deleted. I don't think this will stop you, Tong. Of course, the system wouldn't say that it couldn't do it. When it did this, it realized that it was really amazing. It could easily restore the deleted surveillance footage. It had saved several complete copies. Host, I have completed the task as per your instructions. It had to be said that this feeling of being able to help the host was really a happy one. Heavens, since when was he on the host's side? No, he was originally on the same side as the host. The host even said that as long as she was around, she would not abandon him. He was touched. Once he had the ability, he would never abandon his host. He would never betray his host. The family Tang couple came to the hospital at night. Both of them did not look well. Without surveillance cameras as evidence, and with witnesses unwilling to testify, it was impossible for them to seek justice. The Ma family had a strong background, and there was nothing they could do. Looking at their daughter lying on the hospital bed, the two of them were heartbroken. Vertex. Chapter 2:14. Xiaogua, does it hurt? Tangwa's mother wiped her tears and gently held Tangwa's hand. Your father has already contacted a foreign hospital for you. Xiaogua, you don't have to worry about anything. Let Mom and Dad do everything. Mom won't let you suffer in vain. The other party will definitely be punished. Tangwa felt a little warm in her heart. Whether it was sincere love or heartwarming familial love, they were all things she was greedy for in this world. However, she was the kind of greedy rational and would not indulge in it. Dad, Mom, there's no evidence, right? You have no chance of winning against the Ma family. Why do you have to hit a rock with an egg at this time? The original body was the only daughter of the family Tang. She was raised as the successor by the family Tang couple since she was young. She was rational and smart because she was raised from a young age. After her disfigurement, the family Tang was able to quickly stand up and support the family. The couple who were originally sad were stunned for a moment. Looking at their daughter's bright eyes, it seemed that she was not too sad about the disfigurement. However, they did not believe that their daughter had always been sensible. She must have been afraid that they would worry, so she suppressed the pain and grievances in her heart. The more they thought about it, the more heartbroken they felt. Xiaogua, no matter what, Dad will send that person to prison. Tangwa's father's face was serious. He felt like he was going to perish together. Tangwa understood why the original body was able to hold on for so many years. Even if the depression was serious, she did not think of suicide. She had a pair of parents who loved her. Even if everyone despised her, her parents would always love her. The existence of the family Tang couple was the only warmth and motivation in her heart. Dad, Mom, what I mean is that we should temporarily lay low. There's no need to hit a rock with an egg. Tanghua had her own plan. She could take revenge on her own. There was no need for her parents to throw caution to the wind. With the current situation of our family Tang, we have no chance of winning against the Ma family. If we lose, something bad will happen to our family Tang. Dad, Mom, have you thought about the future? The family Tang couple came to their senses when they heard this. That's right, they were clearly no match for the Ma family. If they were to go against them now, it would be a thankless task. Not only would they not be able to deal with them, but they might even implicate the family Tang family. At that time, they would have nothing. What could they use to seek justice for their daughter? Their daughter was already disfigured. If they did not have the support of money, what should they do? In an instant, the two of them understood the crux of the matter. The couple, who originally had little interest in the business world, had a strong fighting spirit in their eyes. In the past, they were fighting for their own hopes. Now, they were fighting for their daughter. Tang Guo looked at the two of them. She was healed again. Why did she say she was healed? It was because she had met a pair of scumbag parents in her previous world. She had inherited the feelings of the original body. Although she was very rational, she still felt very stifled. Father Tang still planned to let Tang Guo go abroad for treatment, but Tang Guo refused again. How could she cause trouble abroad? She was also particularly interested in Ji Xiaoxi's Red Envelope group. After the family Tang couple left, she poked the system. Tong, can you hack into Ji Xiaoxi's phone? Let me try. The system was also very interested. Hacking into the network of the normal world was not a big feat for its host. If it could hack into this Red Envelope group, it believed that the host would look at it in a different light. It would no longer be called a defective product. Host, it's possible. Peek. Chapter 2:15. The system said that it could hack into Ji Xiaoxi's phone. Tang Guo forgot about the pain in her face. She closed her eyes excitedly. In fact, her consciousness had already connected with the system. A light board appeared in front of her, showing the image of Ji Xiaoxi's phone. It just so happened that Ji Xiaoxi was squatting in the plane exchange group waiting for red packets. This was what she did every day after school. Ziyunjinren, I refined a batch of beauty pills yesterday. Little friend Ji, do you have anything delicious? I'll trade with you. Ji Xiaoxi was waiting for this. She quickly sent a message, yes, yes. What would Ziyunjinren like to eat? Ziyunjinren thought for a while and ordered 2 kinds of food. Braised prawns and lotus leaf chicken. Ji Xiaoxi usually didn't eat these things herself. In the past, she would feel heartache for a while, but ever since she gained benefits here, she didn't feel heartache at all. She even went to some high-class restaurants to order delicious food. For her, it was a high-class restaurant, but in fact, it wasn't even a 5-star restaurant. But the group of people in the group seemed to have never eaten anything delicious in their lives. They especially liked the food she took out. Moreover, Ji Xiaoxi gained more benefits. A batch of beauty pills was priceless in this modern world. It could buy a lot of food like braised prawns. But the group of people in the group didn't know that. They only thought that such delicious food should be worth the price. And to them, the beauty pills were just some small things. So their trade was very peaceful and smooth. After Ziyunjinren came out, the others also came out one after another, saying that they wanted to trade with what Ji Xiaoxi wanted. How could Ji Xiaoxi refuse? After recording what these people wanted, she went out to order delicious food. At this time, the system had already hacked into the plane exchange group. This gave Tanguy a certain understanding of the system's ability. Not bad, system. You can even hack into this kind of group. Of course. I've long said that I will grow and help the host. The system was very proud and happy. After so many worlds, the host finally sincerely praised it once. It wasn't easy, it wasn't easy. Just thinking about it made it cry. And through this upgrade, it discovered a secret. Every time the host went through a world, its energy would increase. In the beginning, when he was doing the female supporting character's mission, the increase in his energy was especially slow. Naturally, he didn't receive any growth and was only a plot prompt. When the host overturned the female supporting character's mission and wandered around in various worlds, causing trouble, he found that after the mission ended, his energy increased very quickly. It was only until the first few worlds that his energy had skyrocketed that he was able to level up and improve his abilities. He analyzed the previous world and came to the conclusion that the joy and anger of his host were related to the growth of his energy. In other words, the more his host had fun in a world, the more comfortable his life would be. As long as the world didn't collapse, he could obtain a lot of energy. If he was unhappy, his energy would only increase a little. If the system had eyes, they would be sparkling. If it had a mouth, it would be drooling. Host, I've created a sock puppet for you. Join this plain chat group. When the host was happy and comfortable, his energy would increase quickly and he would be more useful. If he could help the host, they would be able to live comfortably in the next world. Vertex. Chapter 2:16. The system was already thinking about its beautiful life in the future. Fortunately, it was smart enough to follow its host early on and didn't force the host to do the supporting female mission. The host had a good impression of it. Host, give your avatar a name. Once you've given it a name, you can officially join the group. Tanguy narrowed her eyes. Thinking of the original owner of this body, the corners of her mouth curved. She said, let's call it School Bell. After the system helped Tanguy set up the nickname School Bell, it put this avatar into this plane trading group. Actually, he didn't know why he was so powerful. He could even completely control this plane trading group. He also checked that this group didn't have a group leader. So he decided to let the School Bell ID become the group leader after Tanguy's avatar entered the group. So, welcome School Bell to the plane trading group. Congratulations to School Bell for becoming the leader of the plane trading group. The two messages were like deep water bombs. Originally, the people inside were waiting for Ji Xiaoxi and didn't leave. First, a newcomer came, which made them happy. Then, this newcomer suddenly became the group leader. This stunned them. Ziyunjinren, a newcomer, became the group leader. General Billy, this group has never had a group leader. I've been in for more than 100 years. How can there be a group leader all of a sudden? Margaret, the group leader isn't from my dimension, so I can't divine it. Margaret was a holy wizard from the magic world. In her plane, her status was very high. She could divine the fate of many people in the plane. Qi Shaojinren, group leader, are you there? They didn't want to know why the group leader was called School Bell. They only wanted to know why this newcomer was the group leader and who she was. This group had never had a group leader. This made them very curious. The group leader's arrival made them even more interested in this group. School Bell, I'm here. Ziyunjinren, group leader, why did you just join the group? Everyone was very curious and wanted an explanation. They didn't have any special meaning. They weren't in the same plane and couldn't be enemies. They could even help each other. They were just curious. Otherwise, how could Ji Xiaoxi be able to chat with these people? To put it bluntly, it was just each taking what they needed. No one would interfere with each other's interests. Campus Bell, I don't know either. I just entered the group out of nowhere. I was still wondering when I suddenly joined a group. Tanguo lied with a straight face, which was the easiest way to convince others. Sure enough, when she said that, the people in the group all believed her. They even said that they had formed this group out of nowhere and that they were not ordinary people. This group appeared directly in their consciousness, and at first, it gave them a fright. On the other hand, General Billy from the Interstellar said that his group had suddenly appeared on his optical computer. This made Tanguo understand that in different planes of existence, this group would appear in a way that was more suitable for that plane. However, it was undeniable that this group had brought them a lot of benefits. By giving out red packets, items from various planes could be exchanged. Perhaps this kind of thing was worthless, but it was very useful in that plane. No wonder this group was called the Plane Communication Group. Qi Xiaozhenjuan, Group Leader, send red packets, send red packets, send red packets. Important things must be repeated thrice. Vertex. Chapter 217. Saying important things 3 times was something that Qi Xiaozhenjuan had learned from Ji Xiaoxi. He said it quite smoothly, so he used it just like that. Then, the people in the group started shouting, saying that they wanted Tanguo to send red packets. Campus Bell, what do you like? Everyone was surprised. The group leader's tone was very big, as if she could give them anything they wanted. But now, what they wanted the most was food. Whether it was in Ziyun's cultivation plane, the interstellar plane, or the magic plane, there were flaws in their food. In short, the food was not delicious, and they didn't know how to cook it. Especially in the interstellar plane, they all ate nutrient fluids. Fresh food was considered a luxury in the entire interstellar. Then, Ziyun's spiritual master, food. Great General Billy, yes. Qi Xiaozhenjuan, food +1, Margaret, food +1 page of witchcraft spells. Tanguo looked for a while in the system space. There was a lot of food inside. The time in the system space was still, so the cooked food was still warm when she took it out. But she didn't need to take it out. She directly opened the red packet development page and used her consciousness to send out what she wanted. For the first time, Tanguo sent 6 red packets, which were 6 roasted eggs. They were the eggs that Yi Shou had roasted for her before. She had collected a lot of these edible eggs, mainly because they tasted good, had high nutritional value, and were very beneficial to both cultivators and magic cultivators. Tanguo secretly smiled. She didn't know if these people would be interested in the food she bought in the restaurant after eating the food she gave them. The system had already felt the malice from the host, but it didn't say anything. The happier the host was now, the better it would be for it. It was a system that had drifted through countless worlds, so it wasn't a fool. Ziyun's spiritual master received your red packet. Qi Xiaozhenjuan's spiritual master received your red packet. Margaret's spiritual master received your red packet. Margaret's spiritual master received your red packet. When Tanguo saw that no one else had received their red packets, she knew that no one else had joined the group for the time being, so she didn't care. The 4 of them were in different planes. They each held an egg the size of a head and sniffed it. They could feel that the egg no longer had any life force. As for how to eat it, he still didn't dare to mess around, so he asked Tanguo in the group. Campus Bell, it's cooked, so you can eat it directly. It's good for both magicians and practitioners. Even General Billy's interstellar plane can improve your body's strength. Earlier, when they were introduced, they had all mentioned which plane they came from. Then, when they talked about giving out red packets, they forgot to ask which plane Tanguo came from. Now that Tangua had explained to them how to eat the eggs and the benefits of the eggs, they couldn't wait to eat them. There was a brief silence in the group, but in less than a minute, it became lively again. Qi Xiaozhenjuan, ah, it's so delicious. I've never eaten such delicious food before. It's so delicious. Miss, can you give me another one? Needless to say, Qi Xiaozhenjuan must have communicated a lot with the female lead, Ji Xiaoxi, and even traded with her many times. These words were a characteristic of this era. Tangguo wasn't stingy. She joined the Red Packet group for two purposes. First, she was curious. Second, of course, she was here to destroy Ji Xiaoxi's opportunity. She didn't do anything, but she raised this group of people's taste. Moreover, she was giving it to them for free. There was no need to trade. Hee, system, shivering, you're really like the host. Peak. Chapter 218. Margaret, I feel that my magic has grown a little. Ziyunjinren, the spiritual power in my body has also grown a lot, but I feel that this thing has a good effect the first time I eat it. It won't be so effective in the future. Qi Xiaozhenren, why do you care so much? It's fine as long as it's delicious. This sentence made the group members agree, expressing that it was so. Seeing that they were in high spirits, Tangua sent a lot of food, all of which were specialties from various worlds. The system glanced at the mountainous pile of food in the system space, thinking that the host had collected so many delicacies from various worlds, and it finally came in handy. After half an hour, the four people in the group were very satisfied. They had never eaten so happily before, and they had to exchange with Ji Xiaoxi every time. Knowing that Ji Xiaoxi had a mortal body, they had to consider her body's constitution and find some low-level things to send. Troublesome. After eating, they remembered that they couldn't eat for free. Tangguo could take out so many things that were immediately beneficial to them after eating them. She must be a character like them, or even more powerful than them. Otherwise, how could she be the group leader as soon as she entered the group? Thus, they felt some reverence in their hearts. Qi Xiaozhenren, Miss Campus Belle, if you want anything, as long as you ask, I'll try my best to find it for you. General Billy, Zhenren, it's shameful to act cute. Qi Xiaozhenren, hee. The others also expressed that they asked Tangua if there was anything she wanted, and privately looked to see what they could take out. Compared to how they treated Ji Xiaoxi, they were simply people from two different worlds. To put it bluntly, Ji Xiaoxi, an ordinary person, entered this group. They just felt that it was a novelty, and that Ji Xiaoxi could bring them food. Tangguo was different. From the beginning, she had shown that she had a lot of treasures in her hands, and her strength must be extraordinary. She was the same kind of person as them, and there was no sense of distance when she spoke. Plus, they were not in the same plane, so there was no conflict of interest, and of course, they were closer. Campus Belle, it's my first time joining the group, so consider this a greeting gift. I have a lot of things like this, so it's nothing. Besides, I became the group leader as soon as I came, so consider it a compensation for everyone. At first, they were a little dissatisfied with the fact that the newcomer was the group leader right after he joined the guild. Now that his stomach was satisfied, his heart was also satisfied. This new mysterious group leader was actually quite good. Ji Xiaoxi received your red packet. Ji Xiaoxi received your red packet. At this moment, Ji Xiaoxi came back. Seeing that someone was giving out red packets, she subconsciously snatched them. Tangguo gave out 6 red packets for each red packet. There were 5 red packets in total, and Ji Xiaoxi snatched 5 of them. In the private room of the hotel, Ji Xiaoxi was actually a little surprised by the strange things that suddenly appeared in front of her. They looked like food and an egg. The surface of the egg was smooth and glossy, which made Ji Xiaoxi's heart move. Could it be that this was a divine beast egg? She suppressed the excitement in her heart and put away the egg. She thought that this thing might really be able to hatch a cute pet. When that time came, just thinking about it made her excited. Because of this, she did not ask the people in the group what kind of egg it was. As for the others, they were easier to recognize. They were all food. Tangua silently watched Ji Xiaoxi snatch the red packet without saying a word and chuckled. Vertex. Chapter 219. Ji Xiaoxi carefully put away the things and began to send red packets. She sent all the things to the group and specified who they were for. Because this was a transaction, everyone would not shoot randomly when they saw the names. After eating and drinking to their heart's content, they did not miss Ji Xiaoxi's food. The food Ji Xiaoxi gave them tasted good, but it was not as good as the food Tangua gave them. Besides, eating too much of it was not good for them, but of course, it was not harmful either. However, Tangua's food was not simple. Every food had a certain use. They felt a little sorry for giving it to them for free. However, they had already discussed it before, so they could only take the food and give it to her in the form of red packets as Ji Xiaoxi said before. The purple cloud sage took a bite of the braised shrimp. It tasted good, but he suddenly felt that it was not so delicious. He took a bite of the egg white and suddenly felt that the egg white was tender and very delicious. The braised shrimp was dry and spicy, so it was not so delicious. He had used a furnace of beauty pills to make a plate of braised shrimp and a lotus leaf chicken. He was not a fool. Of course, he knew the value of beauty pills in the secular world. There was no harm without comparison. With the food Tangua gave them for free, especially the highly nutritious egg, and the junk food like braised shrimp, he suddenly felt that Ji Xiaoxi was a little stingy. They were just exchanging things because they were rare. It was not that they did not know the value of these things. Ji Xiaoxi seemed to think that they did not know, and she even told them that these things were very expensive. No matter how expensive they were, could they be more expensive than his beauty pills and the life-saving talisman of Qi Shaozhenjuan? Also, Margaret's cursed talisman was not something that could be exchanged with secular items. The same thing happened to several other people. They had the same thought as the purple cloud sage. They all felt that Ji Xiaoxi was too stingy. They did not think so much before because they could only get food from Ji Xiaoxi. They did not intend to take revenge on Ji Xiaoxi. She was just an ordinary person who would disappear from their group in 100 years. In this group, who was not an old monster who had lived for thousands of years. Even interstellar humans, who had the shortest lifespan, would have to live for at least a few thousand years. If the technology was in place, they could even extract their mental energy and transplant it into a new body. That would be akin to eternal life, although the chances of success weren't high. Ji Xiaoxi got her things and said, "In the future, if you want to eat anything, you can tell me in advance. I'll make a list and buy it for you." True monarch Qi Shao, I've been eating too much lately. I feel that if I continue eating, there will be too many impurities and my cultivation might regress. Ji Xiaoxi was stunned for a moment. Would this happen? Thinking of those situations in the book, she didn't doubt it. General Billy, the Zergs are here again. From now on, we won't have the chance to eat alone. Who knows what will happen if someone sees us? What he meant was that he didn't want it either. Ji Xiaoxi didn't care. She didn't think that these people could resist the temptation of her delicious food. Ziyunjinren, little friend Ji, didn't you steal an egg before? How about I trade with you? 3 batches of beauty pills. Compared to the stewed prawn lotus leaf chicken, he wanted to eat the egg more. Qi Shaozhenjuan, Ji Xiaoxi, I'll trade with you. I also have some pills that you can use. Chapter 220. Margaret, I have a new curse talisman. General Billy, if you need a new cosmetic instrument, I can buy it for you. You don't have to beg Emmanuel. General Billy and Emmanuel were in the same interstellar plane, and the two of them were good friends. Ji Xiaoxi saw that everyone wanted to exchange the egg with her, and she felt that the egg was really a mythical beast's egg. Otherwise, why would these people exchange so many good things with her? So she was determined not to exchange. Ji Xiaoxi, I'm sorry, everyone, but I also like this egg. Hearing Ji Xiaoxi's words, they didn't say anything more. Ziyunjinren, what about the other things? Do you want to exchange? Ji Xiaoxi didn't want to offend people, and the other things were all food. She didn't care about these things, so she agreed. The few people who exchanged the items were in a better mood. Speaking of which, the food of their group leader, the campus belle, was better, and it was good for them. The campus belle was kind and didn't care about every little thing. In comparison, they felt that it was better to make friends with people in the same realm. The people in this group were all in high realms, no matter which plane they were from, except for Ji Xiaoxi. Ji Xiaoxi was busy studying the egg and didn't notice that there was a group leader in this group. She hurriedly said goodbye to everyone and left the group. At this time, Tang Guo appeared. Campus belle, you're interested in food? Everyone said that they liked it very much. The food in their world was either extinct, or almost no one could make that kind of delicious food. Tang Guo laughed. Campus belle, it's fate that we're in the same group. If you're hungry in the future, you can come to me. I'm the group leader, so I should take care of you. The people in the group were touched and hurriedly said that they couldn't take Tang Guo's benefits for free. Campus belle, actually, I have a purpose. Maybe one day I'll come to your plane and ask you to take care of me. Suddenly, the group was quiet for a moment, and then it became lively again. People like Ziyunjinren were shocked. Could it be that this was a powerful person who could travel through space at will? It wasn't that they hadn't heard of this kind of person, but they had never seen one. General Billy, on the other hand, believed that Tang Guo lived in a plane that was even more advanced than their galaxy. Her technology was so advanced that she could travel through space at will. As for Margaret, she was thinking that this person's spatial array skills had probably reached the level of a god. She revered this campus belle group leader even more. Tang Guo didn't know what they were thinking. What she said was both true and false. She couldn't predict whether she would go to their world or not, but she had to take precautions. This was also the reason why she was interested in this group of planes. Then, she said goodbye to everyone. She still had a lot of things to deal with, so she couldn't keep wasting time in the group. When Tang Guo opened her eyes, it was already dark. Thinking that there was spiritual power in this world, she began to cultivate according to a cultivation method she had obtained from a certain cultivation world. She slowly circulated the spiritual power to her face, repairing the damaged tissues under her skin. As for the surface, she did not care about that for the time being. After listening to Tang Guo's words, the family Tang couple agreed when the Ma family offered some compensation and some benefits. Their daughter said that they had to lay low. They couldn't afford to provoke them now, so they had to preserve their strength and wait until the day when they could wipe out the Ma family in one fell swoop. In this way, Tang Guo stayed in the hospital for half a month. The doctor said that she had recovered well. Except for the half-palm-sized scar on her face that couldn't be removed, everything else was normal. She could be discharged. Peak. Chapter 221. On Tuesday, Tang Guo wore No. 1 middle school's uniform and refused the driver's offer to accompany her into the school. She walked into the school with half of her disfigured face. As soon as she appeared at the entrance of the school, she attracted the attention of countless people. Tangwa was famous in number 1 middle school. She was beautiful, noble, and the goddess of all the boys. Therefore, they could not accept the fact that their goddess was disfigured. They all stared at her in disbelief. Tangwa. It was a boy in the class. He stared at Tangwa. How did this happen to you? Tangwa saw disappointment in his eyes. Was he disappointed because of her beautiful face? Tangwa stopped in front of him and glanced at him. Suddenly, a smile appeared on her face. It was an accident. Half a month ago, a lunatic poured sulfuric acid on me and ruined half of my face. Everyone was shocked and they heard Tangwa's understatement. Some of the girls who were originally gloating felt sorry for her. In their opinion, Tangwa's smile was a forced one. If she cried and looked dispirited, everyone would only sympathize with her. Moreover, her face was ugly and they would despise her. However, Tangwa walked in confidently from the beginning as if nothing had happened. Even if she lost her face, she was still the school belle of number 1 middle school. This was something that no one present could do. The first thing they thought was that they would definitely be dispirited and would not continue to come back to school like Tangwa, as if nothing had happened. Therefore, they subconsciously ignored her face and felt some admiration for her. Then, they began to scold the person who poured sulfuric acid. It can't be helped. My family's background is not as good as the other parties. If we go head-to-head with the other party, my family will be unlucky. When asked if the other party had been arrested and punished, Tangwa replied like this. Even if that's the case, I can't be so desperate, right? Isn't it just a face? I don't believe that without this face, I can't continue to study in number 1 middle school with my brain. Everyone quickly shook their heads. School belle Tang was one of the top 3 in the cohort. Her brain was smarter than most people. Besides, she was the daughter of the family Tang family. Even if she stopped studying, her family still had to inherit the family property. No matter how bad she was, it couldn't be that bad. Another reason why the original owner of the body was ridiculed by everyone was because the family Tang dynasty had collapsed. Without any powerful backing, everyone would kick a man who was down. Now, the family Tang's strength was still the same as before, and might even be stronger in the future. Would the students of number 1 high school dare to offend her? Tangwa walked all the way to grade 1, class 3. She was the center of attention. Her confident demeanor gave her a strong temperament that made people want to protect her. When Tangwa arrived at grade 1, class 3, no one stared at her when she walked in. She smiled. It seemed that the effect was not bad. Everyone had the heart to follow the crowd. When these people found out that she was not too affected and was as strong as before, their sympathy turned into admiration. If someone were to laugh at her at this moment, she was sure that these people would drown that person with their saliva. The person who was most shocked was naturally Ji Xiaoxi. She later remembered this matter and panicked for a long time. When she met Ma Mao, she wanted to run away. However, Ma Mao stopped her and said that he was wrong. Ma Mao also said that it was lucky that he recognized the wrong person at that time. Otherwise, he would regret it for the rest of his life. He also said that the person looked too much like her. Otherwise, he would not have recognized the wrong person. But because of this, he stopped himself from making a mistake. When she saw Tangwa, Ji Xiaoxi felt very guilty. Especially when she saw the hideous scar on the other party's face, her heart skipped a beat. The peak. Chapter 222. After class, the students in the class saw that Tangwa did not seem to be traumatized. So, they began to ask her what happened. Tangwa told them the truth. She said that she was walking on the street and someone bumped into her. Then, a lunatic rushed over and poured sulfuric acid on her. After that, the other party said that he mistook me for someone else. Tangwa sneered. So, this is an undeserved disaster. As for the person who bumped into me, she was too fast. I didn't see her clearly. I don't know what kind of conflict she had with the boy. Which school is that boy from? Is he from number 1 middle school? Tangwa laughed in her heart. She knew that these students would not let her down. He is from number 2 middle school. His name is Ma Mao. He is the only son of the Ma family. Her eyes dimmed. I can't afford to offend him. If not, I will send him to prison. This was in line with the original owner's character. She would never show mercy to those who offended her. Tangwa had always been the most domineering girl in number 1 middle school. It was also because of her character that many people were attracted to her. When they heard that it was Ma Mao, they did not dare to ask any more questions. He was indeed someone that they could not afford to offend. A boy who was sleeping in the corner suddenly raised his head and stared at Tangwa. His eyes fell on Tangwa's face. Tangwa smiled at him. What are you looking at? Have you never seen an ugly person before? The boy frowned and did not say anything. Tangwa walked over to him and crossed her arms. She raised her eyebrows and leaned down. Didn't you always say that your grades are not good enough for me? Now that I am disfigured and your grades are not good, we both have shortcomings. Do you want to be a couple? This boy named Wei Yu was the one that the original owner of this body liked. The original owner of this body had confessed to him before. However, the other party did not respond. Wei Yu's family was not bad. However, he lost his mother when he was young. When his mother died, his father brought his illegitimate son back home. Because of that, the boy who was once a prodigy became a bad student. He was also known as the school bully in number 1 middle school. He was a mortal enemy of the second Lieutenant Colonel Ma Mao. Why were they mortal enemies? It was a bit melodramatic. The woman that Father Wei brought back, the mother of the illegitimate child, had the surname Ma. This woman happened to be Ma Mao's father's younger sister, Ma Mao's aunt. How could it not be melodramatic? The class was very quiet. They were really worried for Campus Beltang. Whether it was in the past or now, Campus Beltang was someone they admired. This Wei Yu was someone as fierce as Ma Mao. Now that his face was disfigured, he still dared to provoke him and even said that they would be a couple. Wei Yu took a deep look at Tangwa. He guessed that this woman was not normal after being disfigured. Therefore, he directly fell asleep on the table and ignored Tangwa. Tangwa did not leave. Instead, she sat beside him and nudged him. Why? Do you dislike it? At least I can still see half of your face. Isn't it the same after the lights are off? The students of grade 1 class 3. The campus bell was getting bolder. At first, Ji Xiaoxi was a little scared. Then, she felt relieved. Now that she saw that Tang Guo was still so beautiful, she could not take her eyes off her even after being disfigured. She did not feel good. She has a somewhat similar face, but Tang Guo's temperament can't be learned no matter how hard she tries. In this regard, the guilt in her heart had almost dissipated. She was still the daughter of the family belle. She was just disfigured. She was still alive and well. Her family was so rich. If Tang Guo knew what she was thinking, she would definitely not care about her image and scold her, "Fuck you. You are still alive and well." The peak. Chapter 223. The students of Grade 1, Class 3 refused to let Beauty Tang take the initiative to sit next to Wei Yu. Although Beauty Tang's face was disfigured, they still admired her. What a good girl. Why didn't the heavens treat her well? Everyone in number 1 high school knew that Beauty Tang liked Wei Yu. They used to think that there was still some hope, but now, the probability was 0. However, no one used this to talk about it. They only thought that Beauty Tang was too depressed and wanted to find something to vent. What surprised them was that no matter how Tangwa harassed Wei Yu only slept on his stomach. He didn't hit her or scold her. He just ignored her. Ji Xiaoxi was sure that Tangwa didn't know that she was the one who knocked him down. She felt relieved. On a hot summer day, Tangwa didn't forget to bring back a bottle for Wei Yu while drinking ice water. Such a considerate Beauty Tang still made the boys in the class envious of Wei Yu. So what if she was disfigured? Beauty Tang was still so outstanding that it made people's hair stand on end. Her elegance was still enough to make people ignore her face. When she smiled, she was still so beautiful. Ji Xiaoxi discovered a very scary thing. There were more people confessing to Tangwa every day. She was jealous and panicked. In her eyes, Tangwa was already comparable to a peerless enchantress. Without her face, she was still so liked. She couldn't understand why. Tangwa sat in her seat and opened the love letters one by one in boredom. She even read them out in a low voice. There were still many talents in number 1 high school. The love letters they wrote still had some charm to them. The system was already used to its host's occasional fits. This habit of reading love letters every day was already a very good habit. But he didn't understand. Host, didn't you say that people look at faces? Why do so many people like you? Even he felt that the scar on the right side of Tangwa's face was really scary. When the boys saw Tangwa's shy and moved look, he was completely dumbfounded. Because my charm is enough to make them ignore my face. System, I don't understand. Of course you don't understand. A girl who is confident, charismatic, has good grades, and has a noble temperament, other than half of her face being ruined, is very attractive in the eyes of men. The better I am now, the more I will only cherish the scars on my face, not hate them. I will only hate the culprit. If that person didn't exist, I would be even better. The system thought to itself, heavens, humans are still so complicated. Even though I've traveled through so many worlds with the host, he still doesn't understand. Wasn't it all about looks? Now, she no longer looked at his face. Tangwa was too lazy to explain the complexity of human nature and turned to continue reading the love letter. The high and low tones made Wei Yu, who was sleeping at the side, extremely irritated. What are you trying to do? Wei Yu glared at Tangwa. I won't agree to it. Tangwa put away the love letter and looked up with a dazzling smile on her face. You obviously like me. Why don't you admit it? You think too much. Really? Then why don't you reject me, say that you hate me, say that I'm ugly, and say that you can never like me? Come on, let's hurt each other. Wei Yu stood up and frowned. He looked down at Tangwa and threatened her fiercely. The girls in the class were all very afraid. Move back to your seat. Tangwa frowned. Why don't you like me? Wei Yu pursed his lips and didn't say anything. Why didn't he like her? He thought for a while and really couldn't find a reason. If he didn't like her, then he didn't like her. Why were there so many reasons? Of course it's because you're ugly. Peek. Chapter 224. Beauty Tang, do you really think you're still the school beauty? You have half an ugly face, yet you're still interested in getting close to Brother Wei. Don't you find it embarrassing? A girl dressed like a delinquent walked in from outside the classroom and sized up Tangwa. You're disfigured, so don't pester our brother Wei. Brother Wei's grades aren't good, but that's all he has. He has a good family background and is handsome. Why would he be with an ugly monster like you? These words were very vicious. The students in the class looked at the girl and were very angry, but they didn't dare to do anything. This girl was a female hooligan and had quite a bit of power. They couldn't afford to offend her. Is it like what she said? Do you think I'm ugly? Tang Gua ignored the delinquent and met Wei Yu's gaze. Is that so? Wei Yu looked at the delinquent, clenched his fists, and gently pushed Tang Gua away. Without saying a word, he walked out. Hey, Wei Yu, at least say something and let me give up. Tang Gua looked at Wei Yu's back with a smile, making him feel like he was running away in panic. Are you a man or not? If you're a man, then say it clearly. Otherwise, you'll be my boyfriend. Wei Yu didn't say anything. He didn't know why, but he wanted to directly reject her. He would never be with her. He wanted to say that it was because she was ugly. But just as the words were about to come out of his mouth, he couldn't open his mouth. Of course, he didn't want to be with her not because she was ugly. Whether it was the previous Tang Gua or the current Tang Gua, he didn't see her face clearly. It was the same to him. There was no benefit in being with a hooligan like him. Wei Yu, you're indeed not a man. Wei Yu stopped in his tracks, but he still didn't say anything. He felt that as long as he said that he didn't want to be with her and agreed with the delinquent girl that she was ugly, his heart would be empty and he would regret it for the rest of his life. Wei Yu thought for a long time but couldn't think of a specific reason. Suddenly, he had a flash of inspiration. If he rejected and admitted that she was ugly, she might take it too hard. Yes, that must be the reason. If she took things too hard and jumped off a building, he would definitely regret it for the rest of his life. Wei Yu, who had figured it out, ignored Tang Gua. He even looked at ease, as if he didn't agree or refuse, and let her guess for herself. Tang Gua's smile was a little stiff. This was the first time she had met such an uncommunicative person. She had just dug a hole, but the other party had jumped into it without any communication. It seemed that he had no intention of falling into it. The system laughed secretly. Host, do you feel like you've met your match? The other party didn't fall for it. I know what you're planning. It's nothing more than making Wei Yu admit that he doesn't want to be with you, saying that he despises you for being ugly, and then making him regret it for the rest of his life. Ha, I guessed it. Tang Gua, Wei Yu doesn't seem to be fooled. Tang Gua pursed her lips. She had indeed met an opponent, but how did he know her plan? She narrowed her eyes and paused in the direction where Wei Yu had disappeared for a long time. She didn't have any dislike for Wei Yu. As for confessing to him, it was just that she had inherited the feelings of the original body. Wei Yu hadn't done anything to let down the original body. They weren't a couple. It was different from what the system said. She simply wanted Wei Yu to reject her. Then, she could give up on the feelings of the original body and cause trouble on her own. This time, she really wasn't taking revenge or anything. But this Wei Yu seemed to be very strange. He was so stubborn that she couldn't achieve her goal. After the system knew the truth, it cursed again. It had guessed wrong. The host's thoughts could never be guessed. Peak. Chapter 225. Host, have you ever thought about what if Wei Yu agrees? You're not riding a tiger and can't get off. You originally wanted to end this unrequited love, but he agreed. Ha ha ha, I kind of want to see you lose yourself. However, the system was destined to be disappointed. Tang Guo was serious and even had a smile on her face. That's pretty good. I've inherited his feelings, and he likes me. Isn't it good for us to be together? As long as this way you treats me well enough, I promise that I'll only like him for the rest of my life and only treat him well. System, fuck, it's here again. That broken host is here again. Forget it, I don't want to care about Wei Yu anymore. Let's do other things first. Tangguo gave up on the purpose of solving this unrequited love and turned to think about other things. Recently, she had been communicating with the people in the group. During this time, other group members appeared one after another and also accepted that their group had a group leader. Ji Xiaoxi also knew that there was a group leader, but she didn't think too much about it. She only hoped that this group leader would be like the others and bring her benefits. The bad thing was that recently, the people in the group didn't like her food very much for some reason. Many times, she tempted them with food, but they showed a lack of interest. She didn't know that when she wasn't in the group, Tangguo had already used the food she collected to feed the people in the group. The food that Tangguo took was delicious and beneficial. It was also provided by the group leader for free. How could the food in Ji Xiaoxi's hands compare to it? Ji Xiaoxi was not satisfied. She pestered a few people who were more familiar with her to exchange food for what she needed. Only then did she heave a sigh of relief. She didn't know that these people were very dissatisfied. The school bell group leader took out such good food and didn't ask them to exchange. In fact, they were very willing to exchange. They were embarrassed to always eat the group leader's food. Later, they would occasionally find good things and send them to Tangguo in the form of red packets. Tangguo didn't refuse. She knew what these people were thinking, so she accepted it. Otherwise, they wouldn't feel at ease eating it. That would be detrimental to her plan. Her plan was to let the people in the group know Ji Xiaoxi's selfish side and let them stand by and do nothing to Ji Xiaoxi in the future. Without the help of these people, she didn't need to do anything. Ji Xiaoxi would seek her own death. This was a person who was dissatisfied. She was extremely self-abased and vain. She originally thought that she could reach the sky in a single step, relying on external help for everything. When she lost these things, who knew what kind of scene it would be? Since Ji Xiaoxi had disfigured the original body, then she would snatch away what Ji Xiaoxi valued the most. It was just a matter of getting back and forth. Ji Xiaoxi was still immersed in the benefits she had received. She had no idea that the people in the group were dissatisfied with her. They thought that she was not tactful and greedy. She was indeed sick in the secular world. Why did they feel that Ji Xiaoxi was pure and cute? To hell with it. Ji Xiaoxi was still waiting for the egg to hatch. A month later, there was a strange smell in her room. Finally, she realized that the smell came from the egg. Ji Xiaoxi, everyone, what egg is that? Why does it stink? So far, Ji Xiaoxi didn't think that it was the egg that was broken. She was just afraid that it was some kind of demonic beast and not a divine beast. Tangguo also happened to be scrolling through the group. When she saw this message, she burst out laughing. She can't be thinking that this egg can be hatched and is still keeping it, right? Peek. Chapter 226. System, host, stop pretending. You polished the surface of those eggs so smooth. Didn't you want Ji Xiaoxi to misunderstand that they can be hatched? You're so bad. Does your mother know? Does your father know? Does your man know? I don't have a man. Wei Yu. Tangguo, she had a headache. This Wei Yu was really stubborn. She didn't want to pester him anymore. Anyway, she couldn't get a result. After she finished what she wanted to do, she would leave this world. She didn't know why, but she felt a little regretful when she passed by in a hurry. Thinking of the previous worlds, she sneered. In the end, she was still greedy for other people's love. Host, if you lack love, then choose another target. There are still many outstanding men in this world. With your means, they will eagerly come to pamper you. Tang Guo was speechless. What do you think I am? I inherited the feelings of the original owner. If Wei Yu doesn't firmly refuse, these feelings won't disappear. Besides, Wei Yu is the only one who is pleasing to the eye. Hee, pleasing to the eye. You want to control the feelings, but you can control them as you wish. Isn't it just this dog of a host's bad taste? The group was still chatting because Ji Xiaoxi had called everyone one by one. Ziyunjinren, what egg? Ji Xiaoxi, it's the egg that I snatched from the group leader's red packet. I've been keeping it, but today I found that it stinks. It stinks because it's been stored for a month. Ji Xiaoxi didn't suspect that the egg was cooked at all. How would she know that it stinks because the energy in the egg has been lost? The corner of Ziyunjinren's mouth twitched. He felt that Ji Xiaoxi was really stupid. Didn't the egg stink after being stored for a month? Ji Xiaojinren, although the food sent by the group leader is delicious, Ji Xiaoxi, you don't have to store an egg for a month. It would be strange if it didn't spoil after a month. Devil Sect Master, I have to say, that egg is really delicious. Fortunately, I came back early and grabbed the last one. It's really delicious. Ji Xiaoxi, you should eat the food sent by the group leader. You don't have a special preservation method. It won't work after a long time. Ji Xiaoxi was dumbfounded. That egg is cooked. Is it edible? It wasn't a divine beast. Tang Guo could already imagine Ji Xiaoxi's expression at this moment. She sat in her seat and let out a low laugh, causing Wei Yu, who was sitting at the same table, to look over. When he saw her, he was a little stunned. Even if there was an ugly scar, it still couldn't hide her elegance. When Tang Guo noticed him, she hurriedly lay down and pretended to be asleep. Too stupid, ha ha ha. System, she was a little stupid, and she was the female lead. Why was she so stupid? He couldn't imagine how the eggs would stink after a month. However, it was fine as long as the host was happy. As long as the host was happy, his energy would increase after leaving this world. Lose her moral integrity. Was integrity more important than energy? Ji Xiaoxi, group leader, are you there? Was this egg really cooked? Ji Xiaoxi didn't quite believe it. She still wanted to confirm it. Tang Guo appeared at the right time and told Ji Xiaoxi the truth. Campus bell, you still have it. She looked like she didn't know the truth, which made the system curse several times. A host with schizophrenia was really scary. Ji Xiaoxi was basically sure that the egg was cooked. She smashed the smelly egg open. Suddenly, a strange smell spread throughout the room. She almost fainted from the smell. Campus bell, right, since it's broken, quickly deal with it. Don't smash it open. When Ji Xiaoxi saw this message, she had a bad premonition. Ji Xiaoxi, I already smashed it open. Top point. Chapter 227. When she heard that Ji Xiaoxi had already broken the egg, Tang Guo was a little stunned. Was she a fool? Everyone had told her that the egg was spoiled, so why did she have to break it? System, maybe she's used to picking up cheap things and thinks that even if it's spoiled, it's still a good thing. Ha! Tang Guo couldn't help but smile happily. Her desk-mate Wei Yu's expression was a little indescribable. From his angle, he only saw Tang Guo supporting her chin with one hand and smiling foolishly with her eyes closed, as if she was having a good dream. Tang Guo felt his gaze and suddenly opened her eyes. The two of them looked at each other. Are you looking at me? Tang Guo didn't stop smiling and leaned over. Do you have a crush on me? Wei Yu, there's no such thing. Wei Yu met those beautiful eyes and quickly shifted his gaze elsewhere. Don't think too much, or I'll think you're delusional. You must have a crush on me. Wei Yu, it's okay if you don't admit it, I know. Tang Guo sat up straight and glanced at Ji Xiaoxi's empty seat. It was noon, and Ji Xiaoxi's house wasn't far from here, only 10 minutes away. Her family wasn't rich, so she went home to eat every day. Because she was scrolling through the group and saw Ji Xiaoxi's stupid behavior in the group, she was happy that she didn't go to the cafeteria. What made her feel strange was that Wei Yu, who would leave his seat immediately after class, didn't leave. Host, since he's not interested in you, you should let him go and treat it as a good thing. Tang Guo smiled. You don't understand, he really has a crush on me. Really? The system was a little uncertain. It scanned Wei Yu but still couldn't find anything. You don't believe me. The system didn't say anything. It really didn't believe her. Wei Yu's heartbeat was normal, and his host didn't show any strange expressions. It didn't seem like he liked the host. Then I'll open your eyes. The system's heart trembled. Was the host going to do something bad? After saying that, Tang Guo lay on the table and pretended to be asleep. Her bright smile disappeared and her face turned pale. This series of actions caused the system to be stunned. What was the host trying to do? She was holding it in until her face turned pale and she was pretending to be in pain. Did she think that a blockhead like Wei Yu would come over and comfort her? Even if he was comforting her, it didn't mean that he had a crush on her. The system didn't say anything, indicating that it would continue watching. Wei Yu was a little puzzled. Why did the girl who was laughing just now suddenly fall asleep on the table? However, he didn't mind. He stood up and walked out of the classroom. God knows why he didn't leave the classroom after class recently. It was simply inexplicable. He strode out of the classroom, just like before. System, host, I think your judgment this time is. Before he could finish the word wrong, he saw Wei Yu quickly walk back and look at Tang Guo for a while. System, he chose not to speak. He really couldn't understand the complicated hearts of humans. Hey! Wei Yu nudged Tang Guo. You're not eating. Good students don't have the energy to go to class in the afternoon if they don't eat. System, calm down. This definitely wasn't Wei Yu. He must have been seen through. Tang Guo raised her head slightly, and a smile appeared on her slightly pale face. You have a crush on me. I guessed right. Wei Yu wanted to leave, but he didn't move. His brows were furrowed so much that they were about to kill a fly. Looking at that pale face, he took a deep breath and didn't argue with this delusional person. Are you sick? Peek. Chapter 228. Were you feeling unwell? You look very pale. After asking the first question, the second and third questions naturally came out. The unnatural feeling in Wei Yu's heart disappeared. He stared at Tang Guo without looking away. Seeing that she was only smiling, he couldn't be bothered to argue. His next action shocked the system. He actually picked up Tang Guo directly and carried her in a princess carry. Feeling her struggle, he said coldly, "Don't move. I'll take you to the infirmary. I knew you had a crush on me." Wei Yu. He really wanted to throw her down. However, he hugged her even tighter. When he went down the stairs, he was even afraid that he would lose his balance and fall on her. His careful look shocked the passers-by. That's Wei Yu. He's carrying Beauty Tang. Oh my god, how can that be? Doesn't Wei Yu not like Beauty Tang? Actually, Beauty Tang is really not bad. If I were Wei Yu, I wouldn't be able to control myself. Wei Yu's footsteps froze when he heard this, but he still steadied himself and carried Tang Guo to the infirmary. However, the redness of his ears betrayed him. He pursed his lips and carefully placed Tang Guo on the bed in the infirmary. She doesn't look too good. Help her check. When Tang Guo was being examined, Wei Yu put his hands in his pockets. He didn't keep staring at Tang Guo and secretly glanced at her pale face from time to time. As for that terrifying scar, this time, he also took a serious look at it. His brows slightly furrowed, and he actually had the urge to take that scar away from her face. Suddenly, he was shocked. Seeing that the doctor was almost done with the examination, he went over to ask. It's just anemia. My daughter is afraid of getting fat and doesn't like to eat. Just pay attention to eating on time in the future, the doctor muttered. It seemed that this kind of situation was common in school. Wei Yu brought Tang Guo back to the classroom and pressed her down on her seat with a serious expression. Sit here and don't move. I'll go buy food. Looking at Wei Yu's hurried departure, Tang Guo smiled happily. How was it? I told him he had a crush on me. System, host, I won't doubt you anymore. Just now, I detected that his heartbeat accelerated for a moment. This guy really controlled it well. He almost fooled me. If Tang Guo didn't connect to the system, how could a string of data accurately measure people's hearts? Host, are you going to make a move on him? That's what I'm thinking. I kind of want to make a move on him. When his ears were red just now, he looked a little cute. Don't you think so? Tang Guo's eyes were filled with interest. I want to have a serious relationship with him. The system pondered for a moment. Married? After traveling to so many worlds, even if his host was a supporting female lead, cannon fodder, or a villain, even if she had someone she really liked, she had never really married anyone. Why do you insist on getting married? Tang Guo was puzzled. Isn't it good to have a lifelong relationship where you like me and I like you? Host, this is called being a hooligan. It's not like I'm abandoning him. Why would I be a hooligan? Who said that you can't be together forever when you're in love? The system finally realized that there was a problem with his host's view of love. No, there was a problem with the host's entire person. He hadn't noticed it before, but he realized it today. Host, do you know that there's a problem with you? Eat. Without waiting for Tang Guo's reply, Wei Yu came back with a tall disposable lunchbox and quickly placed it in front of Tang Guo. This was undoubtedly a very rich lunch with high nutritional value. Peak. Chapter 229. Tang Guo ate while grinning at Wei Yu, who was holding a lunchbox with an uncomfortable expression. You said you don't like me. Why are you so concerned about me? Wei Yu. He regretted it. Yes, what did he do just now? Who the hell knew why he did that? Wei Yu suspected that he was possessed, which was why he did such an unreasonable thing. He quickly gobbled down his food without caring about his image, trying to distract himself from his wild thoughts. He was just helping her a little because they were classmates. You've never liked to help your classmates. You've done so much today. If you don't like me, you have to make it clear. Otherwise, everyone will misunderstand. Tang Guo ate with relish. But it's futile for you to explain. I used to think that you had a crush on me. Now that you've done so many things that don't fit your behavior, you can't clear your name no matter how you explain. Wei Yu. Why didn't he just starve her to death? Just now, you hurriedly carried me from the classroom to the infirmary and carefully carried me from the infirmary to the classroom. Everyone in the school saw it. Now, rumors about me should be spreading everywhere outside. If you don't believe me, look at the forum. There might be photos of you carrying me. Wei Yu's expression was very interesting when he heard Tang Guo's words. He had already thought of the consequences. He looked at Tang Guo coldly. The latter smiled helplessly, as if saying that he was the one who did it. She didn't ask him to wipe his face. His innocence had been ruined by this woman. My innocence has been ruined by you. From today onwards, whether it's outside or inside the school, everyone knows that I'm your person. Wei Yu couldn't even hold his chopsticks. Fuck her. He was just concerned about his classmates. He pursed his lips. It seemed that no matter how he explained, it was useless. I heard that you have a lot of enemies. Wei Yu's brows never relaxed, and his grip on his chopsticks tightened. In the future, when I leave the school gate, you have to protect me. Tang Guo looked at Wei Yu eagerly. After all, I'm already your person. Wei Yu. Could he not admit it and just leave? How would he know that she would stick to him after hugging him for a while? Just as he was feeling conflicted, Tang Guo suddenly smiled. Alright, Wei Yu, don't be conflicted. I have a driver at home and my bodyguards outside the school. I don't need your protection. Tang Guo smiled. It's okay if you don't like me. Anyway, I know you have a crush on me. Thank you for helping me get food today. Wei Yu. Her style changed so quickly. He was prepared to say that she would call him when she went out of school in the future and that he would protect her. Seeing that she didn't care, he breathed a sigh of relief, but there was a faint sense of loss in his heart. After all, she was the daughter of the family Tang. After that incident, how could the family Tang not send someone to protect her? It was really strange that he was worried about this delusional woman. There must be something wrong with her. Tang Guo finished her meal slowly. Her appetite was quite good. On the other hand, Wei Yu was a little absent-minded. After eating, he threw away the trash and quickly walked out of the classroom. When he reached the door, he stopped again. For some reason, he turned around and said, "Remember to eat on time in the future. You're not fat." After saying that, he saw Tang Guo smiling, as if she knew that he cared about her. He patted his head in frustration and ran out of the classroom as if there was a female ghost chasing after him. Peak. Chapter 230. Some residents have reported that there is a strange smell coming from your house. Many children around the community have fainted from the smell coming from your house. This is our search warrant. Please cooperate with the inspection. Not long after Ji Xiaoxi cracked the egg, the strange smell spread out. When she saw the school bell, group leaders say that she couldn't crack it, she vaguely felt that something was wrong. The egg was too smelly. She didn't dare to take it out like this. She was secretly anxious about how to deal with the egg. She asked the school bell for help in the group. Unfortunately, Tang Guo was busy flirting with Wei Yu at that time and didn't have time to look at the group. Just like that, in less than 10 minutes, the smell of the broken egg spread out from the window. The children playing below, as well as the elderly, were all fainted by the smell and were sent to the hospital by their families. The entire community was filled with the indescribable smell, which had seriously affected the residents' lives. They chose to call the police. After the police investigated and found that the smell came from Ji Xiaoxi's house, they came to find her. I picked up this egg. I don't know what kind of egg it is. I just put it at home out of curiosity. I didn't expect it to emit such a smell. Ji Xiaoxi really wanted to cry. She didn't know that the egg couldn't be cracked. The group leader didn't say it clearly, so she couldn't explain it clearly now. No matter what Ji Xiaoxi said, she was still brought back to the police station by the police officers to cooperate with the investigation. Ji Xiaoxi had no choice but to call Fu Zhuo for help before going to the police station with the police officers. During the afternoon class, Tangwa didn't see Ji Xiaoxi. She glanced at the red packet group and found that Ji Xiaoxi had been looking for her for a long time. The corners of her mouth curled up slightly. Where's Ji Xiaoxi? She was taken to the police station. Many children and elderly in her community fainted from the smell. Oh, Tangwa didn't pay attention to it anymore. Let Ji Xiaoxi have a taste of being ostracized by everyone. She didn't know if those people would ask them to move. She was a little curious. After the egg was broken, there was no harm in it. It was just very smelly. Host, Wei Yu is peeking at you. The system felt like a fucking dog. It could already detect that Wei Yu's heartbeat was abnormal when he looked at its host. Wei Yu had fallen into the host's hands. To be honest, he was a little disappointed. After all, Wei Yu was the first person who managed to hold on for so long in the hands of the host. Who knew that it was because the host wasn't serious about flirting at all? As a result, the moment she flirted, she fell. Fu Zhuoshu isn't here either. Did he go to the police station to visit Ji Xiaoxi? The corner of Tangwa's mouth lifted into a smile. It was extremely bright and beautiful, causing Wei Yu's heart to pound wildly. He hurriedly lowered his head and pretended that he didn't see anything. She was clearly not good-looking now, but the more he looked at her, the more he wanted to look at her. He must be sick, Wei Yu thought in confusion. He would skip class tomorrow and not come. After school in the afternoon, Wei Yu didn't rush out of the classroom immediately. Instead, he secretly observed his deskmate. Seeing that Tangwa had been doing her homework, he couldn't help but ask, "You didn't bring your homework home?" "Well, it's not that much. I'll go back after I'm done. It'll be 6:30 when I'm done. There are drivers and bodyguards outside the school." Wei Yu didn't say anything and sat silently in his seat. Everyone in the class knew that Tangwa had the habit of going home after finishing her homework. After everyone greeted her, they glanced at Wei Yu ambiguously and left with smiles. Wei Yu. So angry. Peak. Chapter 231. At 6:30 p.m., Tangwa finished her homework. She packed her bag and realized that Wei Yu was still there. She asked curiously, "Aren't you going home? The classroom is quite quiet. I'll sit for a while." Wei Yu's mind wandered. "Oh, I'm going home." "Take your time." Tangwa left the classroom. When she went down the stairs, she felt someone behind her. She turned around and saw Wei Yu slowly following behind. "You're not sitting." Wei Yu's expression was unnatural as he shouted, "Go your way. Why do you care what I do? If I want to sit, I'll sit. If I don't want to sit, I won't sit." After shouting, he regretted it a little. He turned his face away, not daring to see if the person in front of him would cry from being shouted at. After waiting for a while, he realized that there was no movement. He looked up and saw that it was empty. Tangwa's figure had disappeared. He panicked and hurriedly chased after her. Only then did he realize that she was carrying her bag and walking towards the school gate. Her steps were neither fast nor slow. He ran very quickly and caught up to her side. He couldn't see any expression from the side of her face, and she didn't cry. He was still a little flustered. Then, Tangwa stopped and turned to look at him. "Why? Is there anything else, Student Wei?" Tangwa narrowed her eyes. "Are you going to confess to me?" "Wei Yu." He was still so angry. Was there something wrong with this woman's brain? He had already shouted at her, but she didn't seem angry. But he wasn't sure. Her tone was indeed too calm just now. If you want to confess, hurry up. My driver has been waiting for a long time." I'm not going to confess to you. Wei Yu turned around and left angrily. This detestable woman, he must have seen a ghost to be afraid of her anger. Thinking about it, he felt a little wronged. He was just worried. Bah, what the hell? Why would he be worried about her? The system sighed. It had fallen. After watching Tanguo get into the car, Wei Yu went in another direction. He turned back 3 times to make sure that there was no shadow of the car before running away quickly. Wei Yu walked to the alley outside Second High School. There were already many brothers waiting for him. When they saw him, they hurriedly came up to him. Boss, why are you so late today? Wei Yu's face was cold. Where's Ma Mao? Don't worry, we're watching. This time, he won't be able to escape. They knew that there was a grudge between their boss and Ma Mao. They were used to having conflicts with each other every 2 to 3 days. Let's go and find him. Wei Yu's aggressive manner made the people below very excited. With their boss here today, they would definitely get back at him. Previously, when their boss was not around, a few of their brothers had beaten up Ma Mao's men. Wei Yu suddenly thought of that originally unbelievably beautiful face. Now, there was a very large and hideous scar. He stopped in his tracks. Did Ma Mao pour sulfuric acid on a girl? Boss, why are you asking this? Is that so? Yes, the Ma family has been suppressing this matter, so there is no news about it. I heard that the girl is from number 1 middle school. Wei Yu clenched his fists and remained silent as he continued walking forward. After walking for a while, Wei Yu stopped again, causing his subordinates to be confused. There's a girl called Tanguo in my class. Go and acknowledge her another day. Don't bully her in the future. If you see someone bullying her, remember to go up and help. Boss, is it sister-in-law? The subordinates asked excitedly. Wei Yu's face darkened. No. Subordinates, it must be. Do you remember? Yes, boss. We will definitely protect sister-in-law well. Peek. Chapter 232. Did you get into a fight? After class, Tanguo looked at Wei Yu, whose face was bruised and swollen, with a smile. Wei Yu was creeped out by her strange gaze. He should have skipped class today. Damn it, he really didn't know if he was possessed this morning. It's none of your business. Tanguo smiled and took out a bottle of wine from her bag and placed it in front of Wei Yu. Here, my future boyfriend might be a hooligan. Fortunately, I'm prepared. Wipe it. Your face is so handsome. It won't look good with injuries. Wei Yu's expression became more and more strange. He didn't dare to look at Tanguo. Tanguo must be crazy. She said it so loudly. Was she afraid that others couldn't hear her? Looking at the eyes of the other students in the class, he was so angry that he couldn't explain it clearly. Are you waiting for me to help you apply medicine? Tanguo pretended to go over to take the wine. Wei Yu seemed to be frightened and quickly took the wine in his hand. He said anxiously, no need, I'll do it myself. Okay, you do it yourself, boyfriend. You. Wei Yu pursed his lips. Don't talk nonsense. We've already hugged. I gave you medicine as your girlfriend just now, and you didn't deny it. Tanguo blinked. Apply the medicine. I won't tease you anymore. I'm going to study. The final exam is coming soon. Tanguo's gaze became more serious. This time, I'm going to get first place in the entire grade. Her voice wasn't soft, and everyone in the class heard it. Especially Fu Zhuoshu, who got first place in the entire grade last time, also heard it. The two of them didn't have much interaction. The only reason he remembered Tang Guo was because she was second place in grade 1 class 3 and third in the entire grade. Recently, Tang Guo's name was known by the entire school. Everyone knew that she had been splashed with sulfuric acid. Some people thought that she had offended someone. Only the students of grade 1 class 3 knew that she was completely innocent. But no matter how she explained, the others didn't believe her. Fu Zhuishu had been in the corner, paying attention to this girl who was still beautiful even though her face was disfigured. Before Ji Xiaoxi appeared in his field of vision, he had paid the most attention to Tang Guo out of all the girls in this school. He didn't know when Ji Xiaoxi had taken up all of his attention, but when he saw Tang Guo, who often teased Wei Yu with a smile, he couldn't help but be attracted to her. He was a little confused. Was it Tang Guo or Ji Xiaoxi who attracted him? As soon as she entered number 1 middle school, Tang Guo was praised as the school belle. Her eyes were always on that little hooligan, Wei Yu, and she never looked at anyone else. Everyone said that campus belle Tang was pretty and smart, but he agreed that she was blind. He didn't know whether this was jealousy or not. Until Ji Xiaoxi appeared, he seemed to have deliberately ignored this person. Host, the male lead is peeking at you. Not to mention that the system had already been upgraded. Even before the upgrade, it was easy for the system to scan the surroundings to see if anyone was paying attention to Tang Guo. The system sighed. As expected of its host. She hadn't even flirted with him, yet the male lead had already fallen for her. What does him looking at me have to do with me? I'm not interested in him. Host, don't you think that seducing the male lead is the greatest revenge against Ji Xiaoxi? The system asked in confusion. Shouldn't a war between women be like this? Tang Guo sneered. In order to deal with Ji Xiaoxi, you want me to seduce someone I'm not interested in? I don't have that kind of free time. Wei Yu is still cuter. Just looking at him makes me want to tease him. So cute, so pure. His love must be very greedy. System, dog of a host. Peak. Chapter 233. Can you not look at me like that? Good student, you'd better focus on class. You've already successfully attracted the teacher's attention. Wei Yu really couldn't stand it anymore. When he was sleeping in class, a serious gaze was sweeping over him. Tang Guo's lips curled into a smile. Her gaze shifted and landed on Ji Xiaoxi, who was solving the problem. Ji Xiaoxi had received a lot of good things from the group. She had taken some pills that made her mind clear, and her brain had become much smarter. This semester, her results had improved a lot in many tests, which had attracted the teacher's attention. Occasionally, in class, she would be selected by the teacher to solve problems. Ji Xiaoxi was also happy to show off. Very good. Ji Xiaoxi has made great progress. The final exam is coming soon. Pay more attention to your revision. If you have any problems, you can come to the office to find me. Ji Xiaoxi revealed a sweet smile. Okay, teacher. She walked down under the envious gazes of her classmates. She subconsciously glanced at Tang Guo's seat and happened to meet Tang Guo's smiling face. She was a little flustered and hurriedly walked back to her seat. The next question. The teacher glanced at it. The guilty students lowered their heads, hoping to be ignored by the teacher. Tang Guo, come up. The teacher looked at Tang Guo with a bit of pity in his eyes. Such a beautiful girl was ruined just like that. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't angry. Tang Guo was not only beautiful, but her grades were also excellent. She was ranked third in the whole grade. Not everyone could pass the exam. The teachers of all subjects were very worried now. They didn't dare to look for Tang Guo for fear of increasing her psychological burden. Everyone looked at Tang Guo. School belle Tang's grades were very good, but after that incident, they weren't sure if she could study in peace, especially since school belle Tang was even more unscrupulous than before. Whether it was in class or after class, she kept flirting with Wei Yu. Could it be that she wanted to use this method to vent herself? Tang Guo walked up to the podium and held the chalk. She only swept the question on the blackboard and began to solve it. This was a geometric problem. According to the way a normal person solved the problem, they would definitely need to make some dotted and solid lines on the graph before solving it. Tang Guo, on the other hand, seemed to have a super powerful brain. She didn't need to draft at all. Fu Zhuoshu looked at the question on the blackboard and frowned slightly. This question was actually beyond the scope of the syllabus. He had seen it before in the second year of high school. Looking at the thin figure with her back facing him, he actually felt a little worried. "Teacher, I'm done." Tang Guo took a step back and let everyone see the answer on the screen. Even if there was an answer, many students couldn't understand it. Those who understood it looked at Tang Guo with admiration. As expected of campus belle Tang, who had excellent grades, she even knew this question. The teacher was a little surprised. "Correct. Absolutely correct. Tang Guo's answer is perfect." The teacher had already used Tang Guo's answer as the standard answer for the students. With the answers, the students really admired her more and more. Fu Zhuoshu's eyes also lit up. She seemed to be even more powerful than before. Even Wei Yu, who was sleeping on his stomach, woke up. He stole a glance at the girl sitting beside him from the corner of his eye. His heart was thumping faster and faster, and he couldn't stop it. How could this be? Was he sick? Why did his heart beat faster when he looked at her? Ji Xiaoxi buried her head, and her gaze was incomparably complicated. She secretly took out her phone and opened the plain communication group. "Ji Xiaoxi, Ziyunjinren, I wonder if you have any pills that can make your brain smart." Peak. Chapter 234. Recently, the people in the group rarely traded with Ji Xiaoxi. Ji Xiaoxi was still using the stock that she had gotten from the group. She panicked when she couldn't trade for what she wanted. Everything she had was given to her by the plain trading group. If she couldn't get more benefits from it, what was the use of this group for her? In fact, what she wanted most from the group was cultivation methods. There were a total of 5 people in the group who should be from the cultivation plane: Ziyunjinren, Qi Shaojinren, the sect leader of the devil sect, Piamiao Fairy, and Wandering Huan. The ones she was familiar with were Qi Shaojinren and Ziyunjinren. Basically, all the good things from the cultivation plane were from them. She mentioned it a few times, but the two didn't agree. They said that cultivation methods couldn't be passed around casually, so as not to create unknown karma. Ji Xiaoxi snorted at this. They weren't from the same plane, so what karma? They were probably just making excuses because she couldn't take out the corresponding good things. "Ji Xiaoxi, Qi Shaojinren, are you there?" "Qi Shaojinren, I don't know how to refine pills, and I've never heard of a pill that can make the brain smart. Cultivators are all very smart." Qi Shaojinren was telling the truth. After stepping into the door of cultivation, even a fool could gradually become smart. It wasn't that such a pill couldn't be refined, but that no one used it at all. "Ji Xiaoxi, Ziyunjinren, are you there? Is what Qi Shaojinren said true?" Being questioned, Qi Shaojinren snorted coldly and didn't want to pay attention to Ji Xiaoxi anymore. In the past half-month, Ji Xiaoxi's selfish nature had been exposed. Although the people in the group didn't say it, it didn't mean that they didn't understand. They knew clearly what she was thinking, but they didn't want to bother with a mortal. Previously, she wanted to get cultivation methods from them. Did she really think they were stupid? If there were no cultivators in Ji Xiaoxi's plane and they gave her cultivation methods, she would do evil everywhere. At that time, karma would fall on them. It was a thankless task. Ziyunjinren, there really isn't such a pill. Ji Xiaoxi was a little discouraged, but she didn't want to give up. Ji Xiaoxi, then why did the elixir you exchanged with me make your mind clearer? Ziyunjinren, that is the marrow cleansing pill. Making the mind clear is just one of its side effects. This Tao master has recently comprehended a lot and is preparing to go into seclusion for a period of time. Sigh, actually, it was just that Ji Xiaoxi was too annoying. Otherwise, he really wouldn't be able to bear to part with the group members and the campus bell. Of course, what he was most reluctant to part with was the campus bell's delicious food. Then, Ji Xiaoxi asked the other group members, but all of them said that they had never seen such a medicine before. Emmanuel, who came from the Interstellar, said that they only had the gene modification agent. He didn't know if Ji Xiaoxi could use it. The serious consequences might cause her body to collapse. After all, they weren't from the same plane. The gene modification agent was only for his plane. Of course, Ji Xiaoxi wouldn't trade. This kind of medicine had no guarantee and might not even have an effect. What if she ate it and died? Campus bell, what are you talking about? Piaomiao Xianzi, Ji Xiaoxi is asking us if we have any pills that can make her smart. Piaomiao Xianzi, who had always been quiet, couldn't help but show her face when Tang Tanggua appeared to deepen her impression. Campus bell, pills that can make her smart. Ji Xiaoxi's heart skipped a beat. She quickly sent a message. Group leader, do you have any? I'll trade with you. Top point. Seeing that Tanggua had been listening to the lecture, she breathed a sigh of relief and quickly turned her gaze to the blackboard. When she turned around, Tanggua looked up and glanced at her. Her lips curled into a smile, but her consciousness didn't leave the plain trading group. School bell, Ji Xiaoxi is an ordinary person. In the future, don't take out items that have too big of an impact, lest you create unresolvable karma. The people in the group were shocked and suddenly understood why the school bell wanted to exchange these things. School bell, forget about ordinary pills. Like cursed talismans and good luck charms, don't exchange them with her. If she uses them on innocent people, who do you think will be responsible for this karma? The top. Chapter 236. Margaret, thank you for your reminder. I didn't think of that. Emmanuel, school beauty, will there be any problems with the plastic surgery device I gave you? Emmanuel was a little scared and regretted what would happen, although he didn't know what the cause and effect was. But because advanced technology fell into the hands of some backward civilizations, it was very likely that there would be irreversible consequences. This kind of thing happened in the past, causing that civilization to develop rapidly. A lost item in the galaxy was finally swallowed by that civilization. It could be said that it was a tragedy. That backward civilization developed because of that advanced technology, and finally used that technology to find the existence of the galaxy. If the race in Ji Xiaoxi's plane was also so smart, wouldn't he bring danger to their galaxy? School beauty, it's just a plastic surgery device. It's not a big problem. In the future, don't give them technology beyond their technology. She's an ordinary person and doesn't understand cause and effect. Don't give things carelessly. Emmanuel breathed a sigh of relief. In the future, he should trade less with Ji Xiaoxi. She seemed very untrustworthy. Before leaving the plane trading group, Tanggua also asked the system to clear the chat records. The people in the group were already used to it. The school beauty was the group leader. Didn't she just clear the chat records? Tanggua glanced at Ji Xiaoxi's position. Seeing the hidden excitement in Ji Xiaoxi's eyes, she smiled. Host, when did you get your hands on such a smart pill? You're not lying to her, are you? It's indeed a pill that can make the brain smarter. Why don't I believe that you're so kind? I don't have good intentions. Host, please no. Just wait and see. There's no point in spoilers. The system was speechless. Host, have you noticed? My ability is getting stronger and stronger. Host, I hope that you can be happy in every world. That way, I can level up faster. The system didn't intend to hide this secret. It wasn't a bad thing. He promised that after the host knew, it would help him level up faster. After all, they were teammates, weren't they? Oh. My happiness is good for you. Yes, yes. It's because you're happy in these few worlds that I leveled up. My energy increased very quickly. I can help you in the future. Tangua nodded. No wonder you're acting cute instead of warning me that I'll be erased. System, you're a dog. In the last class in the morning, Teacher Ren gave out the papers for them to practice on their own. 10 minutes before class ended, Tangua's deskmate, Wei Yu, sneaked out of the classroom. The teacher sitting on the podium only took a glance and ignored him. Clearly, he was used to Wei Yu's behavior as long as he didn't affect the other students. 10 minutes later, the class ended. Ji Xiaoxi walked up to Fu Zhuoshu and smiled sweetly. Chapter 237. Boyfriend, you're so fast. Tangua stood up and went up to help Wei Yu take it. Wei Yu moved away and said with a sullen face, "Go and sit down." "Okay, boyfriend, you're so considerate." "Wei Yu, then I'll go to the cafeteria with Xiaoxi." Fu Zhuoshu didn't look anymore. At this moment, he finally confirmed that he was jealous of Wei Yu. This boy had attracted Tangua's attention from the beginning. He even held Ji Xiaoxi's hand in a fit of pique. The latter was a little surprised, but she didn't break free. Instead, she looked in Tangua's direction. Then, she saw Wei Yu helping Tangua open the lunchbox. He even inserted a straw into the drink and handed it to Tangua. The joy in Ji Xiaoxi's heart dissipated a lot. She silently followed Fu Zhuoshu downstairs. "Boyfriend, you're so nice. Shut up and eat." "Sigh, you didn't deny it." Wei Yu pursed his lips and didn't look at Tangua. He took a box of white rice and ate it with all his might. God knew why he bought rice for her. Don't just eat rice. Eat more vegetables, Tangua reminded him. You can't fight if you don't have enough nutrition. Who said I can't fight? Wei Yu almost jumped up. Ma Mao was beaten up by me and sent to the hospital. With that, he secretly glanced at Tangua as if to see her reaction. She only lowered her head and ate. He couldn't see any reaction from her. He continued, he won't be out of the hospital for 10 days. Father Wei didn't care about Wei Yu, but Wei Yu's mother's family was very powerful. Wei Yu had beaten up Ma Mao, so the Ma family really didn't dare to do anything to Wei Yu. As long as Wei Yu's maternal family was around, someone would protect him. Are you helping me vent my anger? Wei Yu felt a little depressed. He didn't know why, but when he suddenly heard Tangua's words, he was stunned for a moment and looked at the girl who was still smiling. His gaze landed on her cheek. There was a very hideous scar that was so glaring. For the first time, he seriously sized up her appearance. If it wasn't for that scar, she would definitely be very beautiful. He clenched his fists, thinking that he had been too lenient yesterday. He lowered his head and continued to eat, but he was thinking about what excuse he should use to beat Ma Mao next time. I knew that my boyfriend's heart is very soft. Wei Yu didn't say anything. He was used to it. It was as if she would feel uncomfortable if she didn't tease him for a day. He didn't even realize that he had reached a point of indulgence towards her. Wei Yu ate very quickly. After eating, he did not leave immediately. Instead, he waited for Tanggwa to finish eating slowly before throwing away the trash. Then, he ran out of the classroom like a mad dog. "What do you want to drink? I'll bring it back for you later." Running to the door, Wei Yu turned around and asked subconsciously, completely forgetting that there were other students around. His behavior confirmed the fact that he was friends with Tanggwa. Tanggwa smiled. "I'll drink whatever my boyfriend brings." Wei Yu was so scared that he hurriedly ran away. This time, it seemed that there was really a mad dog chasing after him. The others laughed in surprise. Ji Xiaoxi had also just returned to the classroom. She couldn't help but go to Tanggwa's side. "Ji Xiaoxi, what's the matter?" Ji Xiaoxi secretly glanced at Fu Zhuoshu, who was doing the questions, and sat beside Tanggwa. "Are you really with Wei Yu?" Can't I be?" No, I just didn't expect it." Ji Xiaoxi heaved a sigh of relief. That was good too. This way, no one would snatch Fu Zhuoshu from her. Tanggwa narrowed her eyes. "Is there anything else?" "No, nothing else." Ji Xiaoxi looked at Tanggwa's face and felt very guilty. She quickly returned to her seat. The Peak. Chapter 238. The final exam arrived as scheduled, and the entire school entered a tense state. The exam was to arrange the seats and number them. There were students from different classes in the same examination hall, so they were arranged according to their ranking. Tanggwa was third in the entire cohort last time, so she was naturally in the third seat. The first seat was Fu Zhuoshu. When he walked in, he subconsciously glanced at Tanggwa's seat. He didn't know what to think, but he walked in front of Tanggwa. "Good luck." Without waiting for Tanggwa to say anything, he returned to his seat. "What's wrong with you?" The system snorted. "The male lead has a crush on you." "What does it have to do with me?" "I don't have a crush on him." "Isn't he with Ji Xiaoxi?" "Why would he still have a crush on me?" The system snorted. Substitute joke. The host was the male lead's true love, and Ji Xiaoxi was a substitute. "It's none of my business either." Tanggwa sneered. It was really none of her business whether she had taken the initiative to provoke the other party or not. If she wanted to blame someone, she could only blame her charm for being too great. She always made people unable to control themselves. The first exam was Chinese. After Tanggwa received the paper, she didn't raise her head again. She had traveled through so many worlds, and with her intelligent brain, any exam would be a piece of cake. The entire classroom could only hear the sound of shuffling. An hour later, Tanggwa handed in her paper. She didn't check it because she was confident enough. Fu Zhuoshu couldn't help but look up at her back. A kind of worry that he didn't know about rose in his eyes. When she walked out of the classroom, she met Wei Yu, who was leaning against the railing. She smiled at him. "Boyfriend, you're so dedicated. Are you waiting for me here?" "Wei Yu, you must not have done well. You came out so early." Tanggwa said firmly, "I guess you didn't write your reading comprehension, poetry, and essay." Wei Yu's mouth stiffened. She didn't guess wrong. She guessed very accurately. He quickly reacted and walked in front of Tanggwa. He was very tall and looked down at Tanggwa. His slightly deep eyes stared at her. "Did you fail the exam?" According to the understanding of ordinary people, the Chinese exam only took an hour, so the results definitely wouldn't be too good. Wei Yu understood it as well. "I'll take you to eat ice cream." Wei Yu put his hands in his pockets. "Are you going or not?" "Of course I'm going. Only a fool wouldn't go when my boyfriend is treating me." Tanghua hurriedly ran to his side and didn't make any unnecessary movements. This is a school, it's hard to say if she was caught. Wei Yu walked with his long legs and left Tanghua behind in a few steps. He thought of something and stopped in place to wait for Tanghua to catch up before continuing to walk. This time, he deliberately controlled his speed so that Tanghua wouldn't fall behind. The two of them walked side by side out of the school gate. What kind do you like? Tanghua looked at the ice cream in the transparent freezer. She hesitated for a while before finally saying, they all look delicious. It's not good for girls to eat too much cold food. She didn't know where Wei Yu had heard this from. Why don't you have a small piece of each and fill a bowl? He was asking Tanghua. Seeing Tanghua nod happily, he heaved a sigh of relief. Girls were really troublesome. It was undoubtedly very expensive to buy ice cream like this. A small bowl cost Wei Yu 200 yuan. But he didn't seem to care. He didn't eat the ice cream and just watched Tanghua eat. Tanghua held the bowl and ate while Wei Yu accompanied her. Not long after, a group of boys dressed in plain clothes walked over and smiled at Tanghua. Boss, is this sister-in-law? Wei Yu, hello, sister-in-law. Tanghua looked up and smiled. Hello. These hooligans also saw the big scar on Tanghua's face and were surprised. Wei Yu frowned. What are you doing here? He didn't deny the way his underling addressed Tanghua.